people don't know, a drug court is an 18-month rehabilitation process for an individual who commits a crime related to substances. And instead of throwing them in prison for 2 to 4 years, they go through an 18-month process of developing life skills and work skills to then rehabilitate themselves so that they can go into the community. And a lot of people who come out of those, they start businesses.
Being someone also who's exchange trained and I do facilitation and that methodology, I did it yesterday. Started off, and it's like, this has never happened before in this particular company. Never had someone come in and just start asking questions and putting them together. It's always a speaker who tells them what to do or teaches them something. That hadn't made any impact though, right? So this was a way that instantly I saw that impact just because of what you just described, everything you just described. It's a powerful way. Can you give us an example, Jesse? And of course, you can keep names confidential. Can you give us an example of an experience that you may have been a part of, either one-on-one or a group, that you've seen the pain or the problem or the challenge going in, and then you've helped them to walk through that journey on the road to recovery? Can you share an example?
The work I got to do in Georgia. So I started to work with the state of Georgia, and they have what are called recovery community organizations, which are organizations that are in regions of a state, different parts of a state that are providing free recovery services, addiction recovery services to people that can't afford to go to rehab and they're they're a complement to drug courts and rehabs, but they're free. So in Georgia, they have over 40 of these, what we call RCOs. And I was hired to come in to unify the strengths of the RCOs, to take the RCO as a network and allow them to help each other and to see what they're doing well and then share that with each other. Like, here's what we're doing well. Let's share what we're doing well and then see if my challenge can be solved by the things you're doing well. And so I got to work with them starting in 2019. And then when COVID hit, that was the ultimate challenge. Was now I have to go from in-person to online now and take a whole system, a state, through a process of really what I only thought you could do in person, but to do it online, and then also deal with the challenges of lockdowns and unknown and all these scary things and there was a lot of people overdosing and dying at that time. So there was these challenges that people now couldn't go in person to go to a meeting, or they couldn't find the help they could normally find. So the challenges were extremely great. What I did is I just adapted to the Zoom platform and facilitated events with this network, this RCO network. And all I did was start to get into things of resilience, like asking a resilience question in a story, like, hey, we're going through this challenging time. When is a time in the past where you've been resilient? And really, what were the strengths that enabled that to happen? And so all of a sudden, we took this huge monumental challenge, and now we're looking at, in the past, how can we use the past as a way to inform our present so that we can get through these challenges? And these people have been through addiction, trauma, like the worst of the worst. So they're like, shit, if we got through crack addiction, we got through trauma, all this stuff, we'll probably be able to get through COVID. And so we got to use and see, like, let's utilize all the strengths to be able to work through and see each other's strengths. And I was able to facilitate that process in 2020. And that led to people being able to know how to talk to each other in a new way, like a new operating system, where instead of talking about the problems and challenges, we were going to ask questions that transcend the problem. So like a question of like, when is a time when we're at our best? Instead of being like, we got all these problems because of COVID and challenges with finances. Well, when are there times when we're at our best? So studying when we're at our best, to be able to bring out those strengths, to be able to overcome the challenges of the now. And, so being able to take the Georgia Council on Recovery is their name, through that process. And then that led to additional work over the next several years with them to continue that cycle of asking questions and of innovation. And then they could actually, once they felt safe enough to be able to communicate in large groups that I was putting them in, they could go and run meetings now and know how to structure their agendas where there would be no time wasted. It's like, hey, let's not waste any times. We know how to structure our meetings based off of the larger container Jesse taught. We can do this in this micro 45-minute, 60-minute versions of what he taught in an all-day event or a four-hour event. And that's what it was. It was just canning and cloning, asking great questions that matter, questions that are pertinent to the vision, the mission, the purpose of a nonprofit, which is these are nonprofits. And then led to me working with the drug court, the Fulton County Drug Court, one of the biggest drug courts in the country, and being able to do the same thing with their entire staff. And I'll be working with them in June of this year for the third year in a row, or it might be the fourth year in a row, where I'm working with their whole staff of a drug court. The drug courts, if people don't know, a drug court is an 18-month rehabilitation process for an individual who commits a crime related to substances. And instead of throwing them in prison for 2 to 4 years, they go through an 18-month process of developing life skills and work skills to then rehabilitate themselves so that they can go into the community. And a lot of people who come out of those, they start businesses. They'll start a business. They'll start to become entrepreneurial, but they need a chance. So I have the honor of training the staff that serves these participants that instead of being incarcerated, get to be a part of this rehabilitation process. And I get to do that thanks to some of the grants that are available through the SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. But anyways, I'm kind of going on a rant, but that's where it kind of led to.